Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Tao of the Day. We're doing this at 6 because I feel good. I feel good at the moment, so we're gonna lean into that, and we're just gonna feel good, and we're gonna do my Tao for the day. I've been really excited for the Tao of the Day recently, mainly because I've been utilizing different translations, and those different translations have been really nice to explore. So if you have a number between 1 and 81, I would love to chat with you. Connecting here is so important. I've been struggling with a toothache. They're going to extract that tooth, but a number of people have given me so much advice on how to deal with the pain and deal with the situation. And I want to be really, and I'm really grateful. Energy Lady helped me. Energy Lady here on Wisdom. Bella has sent me some things, and it's all very wonderful for me to look at. Not only to look inside my body and see what other things might be going wrong, but also my emotions and things that are happening. I've had to recognize that there might be some loneliness involved. I haven't been physically close to people in so long, and that's starting to affect me. I am a physical touch kind of person, and I'm only getting like 2 hugs a week, and that's very rare for me. But the Tao is a wonderful way of connecting with people, and even though it's not physical, it is something that I can energetically touch on. So I this is such a joyful part of my day, and I want to invite you guys to step up. If you guys have a number between 1 and 81, I would love to read the Tao with you. And join me weekdays, every weekday, sometime in the morning Central Time. Today it's 6 a.m., but it's not always 6 a.m. Sometimes it's 7 or 8, sometimes even as late as 9 or 10. Every now and again, I have to fly out of the city, and I have an early flight, so I got to get on even earlier than that. I know one time I was on here at 3 a.m. It's very rare indeed. But Tao of the Day is something that I really love doing every day. At the end of March, I'm going to be going into a dark retreat. So in a couple weeks, I'm going to be going into a dark retreat, and I'm going to be in the dark without electronics, without anything, for 5 days, 6 nights, almost a week. And during that time, I will not be doing Tao of the Day, but I will be back as soon as I can be. I'm going to be going down to Guatemala, so I'll probably be about 2 weeks that I won't do Tao of the Day, from midweek. 1 week to a week, 2 weeks later, midweek. That's kind of what I'm planning, just to step away from it. Because as many of you may know, I like to not have too many things that I have to do. It's wonderful to have something like this that I do every weekday and then just stop and then even be able to return to it, but still don't, because it's a way for me to engage without being forceful. Right now, it's something that brings me so much joy that I don't want to stop. And because I'm feeling good, because my tooth pain is not affecting me at the moment, I'm able to step up and be here and be present. So I'm going to start because no one's stepping up to pick a number between 1 and 81. I'm going to go ahead and pick one. And I'm going to pick one. I want to pick one from the Hogar translation. The Hogar translation is something that was introduced to me here on Tao of the Day, and I forget who introduced it to me. It might have been Erica, might have been somebody else, and it is a beautiful, just a very kind of down to earth, um, a down to earth translation that I'm really kind of impressed with, just because of the simplicity of it and the accessibility of it. Now, it is not. Stephen Mitchell definitely has more depth, I think. So, depending on what it says, I might want to touch on Stephen Mitchell's as well, because I do believe Stephen Mitchell was the impetus for the Hogar translation. I don't know if this guy, let me catch his name really quick. This guy, Ron Hogan, not Hogar, so Hogan, Ron Hogan. I don't believe he translates anything. I think he looks at a number of translations and then makes a translation from that. So, similar to what I have done. I think Ron Hogan. So what I have done in my on my own computer and stuff is look at different translations and try and make something that is solid from that. So here 49 is what I'm going with this morning. And it says the masters don't make up their minds. They turn their thoughts to the people. They are good to good people, and they are good to bad people. This is real goodness. They have faith in the faithful, and they have faith in the unfaithful. This is real faith. A master throws himself into the world completely, forgetting everything he's been told. People pay attention to him because he lives like a life of childlike wonder. He lives a life of childlike wonder. And because this is coming from because Ron here utilizes and leans on the Stephen Mitchell version so much. We always have to, when we look at Stephen Mitchell, we always want to look at that last line and the first line, and see how this all relates back. We don't ever want to miss anything. Here it says the masters don't make up their minds, and at the end he says people pay attention to him because he lives a life of childlike wonder. You know, children don't make up their minds; they do things, and then they're told what to do. Right. So it's really interesting. You see a child, they're playing with a toy. And then they might switch to play with a different toy without cleaning up the other toy because they don't know that they're done playing with that. They've just moved on. Something happened and they moved on. That's why it's so hard to get a child to clean up their room, is because they move from one thing to the next. They're not actually making up their mind. They're doing the next most obvious thing. They're like, "Oh, I'm playing with this," and then, "Oh, I want to color now." And they get up and they get a coloring book and then they start to color, but their cars are still on the floor. You know, I'm, I guess that might be oddly specific, but that was my issue, right? I'd be playing with something and then, oh, like I'm playing with this thing, and the story finishes in my mind, or then I'm like, oh, you know what? Now that I'm doing this thing with cars, I want to color because I'm thinking about cars in this other way. And so it's all connected. Everything you do is connected. And so it's not making up your mind and standing firm anywhere. Right? Like there is no decisiveness. Um and so I just want to kind of bring that up. First and foremost, people pay attention to him because he lives a life of childlike wonder. So the masters don't make up their minds. They turn their thoughts to other people. When we make up our minds as to do something in this moment, um, we believe that that's the right answer. Sometimes, you know, this is an interesting story. I did not make up my mind to choose my cat. I had some criteria that I needed my cat to adhere to, meaning that I needed to not be allergic to it, and it needed to be 8 months or younger because I wanted to train my cat to use the toilet. So once these two criteria were met, I got the first cat that met those criteria. I did not make up my mind on the cat, right? Like, I knew what I wanted in a cat, and then I got that cat. And she's my cat. That's it. Like, there was no, I remember, I mean, I guess we could say that that is making up my mind, but it wasn't like I thought about it, right? I knew what I needed, and then I stepped up and I just decided. So it wasn't about making up my mind. It was like, this is the one. This is the one because it meets the criteria, and that's it. And so I was able to, and that was a perfect match, right? Me and my cat are buddies, and we are here together. And until she dies, we'll be here together, or I die, one or the other. Um, but that's what this whole, like, they turn their thoughts to other people. Like, what do other people need? And what, like, the other people in this scenario, or what in this scenario are, and remember, I have a tooth, so I might be slurring some of my words, or enunciating oddly. Please pay no mind. um, they turn their thoughts to other people. Other people, as it relates to this, could be criteria, like, because other people might have criteria to need us to work within. So a criteria could be considered in this case. They turn their thoughts to other people, to other criteria, to other points. You may not, it might not be about you. It's not about you. The master doesn't make up their mind. Like, I didn't make up my mind if this was the right cat, or if another cat that meets the criteria. They're all the same. It's all a crapshoot. Everything that you do, and every time, like, if you decide to have a child, that child is a crapshoot. You don't know what's going to happen. You can do your best to guide that child on their path, but their path is their own. And for you, it's a crapshoot. The cat you choose, it's a crapshoot. Like, so all of those things, you don't make up your mind. You allow the people, you allow the situation, you allow the things around you to make up your mind for you. Yes, you may have criteria, like you want your cat to be alive, right? Like, if that wasn't part of the criteria, like, and so anybody that's like, well, you're making up your mind that you want criteria. Yes and no. I mean, there's certain things that you definitely want, and you have information about, right? Like, you want your cat to be alive. Maybe you think that that's a criteria that is, oh, well, that's, of course, that's the criteria. Well, it's still criteria that you're choosing. You know, you want your cat to not be a dog, right? Like that's a criteria, because, like, when we start looking at, like, what we're dealing with today, as we engage deeper into, Frankie's going to be coming up. Thanks, Frankie. When we start engaging deeper into what people are, we'll come back to this. Frankie, how are you doing, brother?
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, I like your talk about the cat because it's a very important thing. I can't stress it enough when I talk about animals. I'm certain you're aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is people don't take the time to think of the criteria on what they're looking for, and they'll pick a dog, for example, because it's super cute as a puppy, but they forget they live in a studio apartment in the middle of Manhattan, and they pick a St. Bernard,
Right.
right? So they're not thinking of the criteria of what A, the animal needs, and B, what they're going to have to provide for that animal for it
Yeah.
to be a successful relationship. And that's why there's so many dogs in shelters, because people just don't take the time to simply do a little research on what animal, dog, cat, whatever, would match their criteria and what
Right.
criteria that animal requires.
Yeah, and that as it relates to this 49 that I picked, the
Yeah,
master doesn't make up their mind. You don't. It's not about you,
right, exactly.
right? They turn their thoughts to other people. Here, you're turning your thoughts to, okay, what are the conditions under which this thing is going to be living? And now I utilize that to make up, to have a decision made.
Right.
Because everything, of course, is going to be a crapshoot. Like, but you have criteria that you could hold on to, that makes it easier for that crapshoot to at least go well for everybody involved.
Well, yeah, and that's just it, and I loved every point you were making because it's totally what I emphasize with people when, picking pets. It's crucial to both sides.
Absolutely.
But no, I do have a number for you if you don't
Please,
mind.
yeah, that's what I'm here for.
Yep. So my number is 32 today.
32. Okay, let's hit up 32, and I'm moving to the Mitchell version. Um, the Tao that can be perceived. Nope. The Tao can't be perceived. Smaller than an electron, it contains uncountable galaxies. If powerful men and women could remain centered in the Tao, all things would be in harmony. The world would become a paradise, all people would be at peace, and the law would be written in their hearts. When you have names and forms, know that they are provisional. When you have institutions, know that their functions should end. Knowing when to stop, you can avoid danger. All things end in the Tao, as rivers flow into the sea.
Hmm, interesting.
The thing that pops out for me for this, and it might resonate with you because this is what always comes up is um what was it? When names and forms, is that right? All people would be at peace. Yeah. When you have names and forms, know that they are provisional. That was a part that really kind of stood out. Like when you have when you have things that you point to and say, oh, this is this, like this, like I know you have dealt with your ex and other things like that, like when you have names and forms, so this is my ex,
Okay.
know that they are provisional, or this is my wife, know that that name and that title is provisional, meaning that it's not, it's only a placeholder.
Yeah, you're right. So they're not permanent.
Right.
Huh,
All of the labels, all of the names, all of the forms that we believe they are, like they're provisional. They're only here for now.
that is
You know?
powerful stuff, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
You
and
always
so
get me good. I love these things. I love it.
yeah.
I love it.
So when we start this over, and we start to go through this line by line, and we take some of that stuff into consideration that we
Mhm.
heard, like the Tao can't be perceived. Smaller than an electron, it contains countless, uncountable galaxies. And this is what we are. This is what everything that you would put a name to, everything that you would put a form to, is the Tao. It is not part of the Tao, it is the Tao, because it says here the Tao can't be perceived. It's smaller than an electron,
Okay.
and it contains uncountable galaxies.
Man, so deep.
What are you thinking there?
It's just everything that is being said. I'm able to understand that. It's like a different language of what's going on right now with my life. Nothing negative, but
No.
it's making everything make sense.
Yeah.
It's the only way I can explain it without, discussing the topics at hand.
Of course, of course. One
But
of the interesting things about the Tao is that it talks primarily about living a reasonable life. And
mhm.
so when we start to look at this, it's like, okay, well, how does that relate? Well, that doesn't. What it's doing here is starting us off with, I want you to remember, like if you were to start a story with, before I say this, I want you to remember what you're talking about. I want you, like, if you're going to be, I'm going to tell you a story about Grandpa Bob. Well, before I start this story, I want you to know Grandpa Bob was born in 1908 and engaged in the First World War. Now I can tell you the story about Grandpa Bob because you have a reference.
Yeah, right.
Right. And so that's what this is doing. It's saying, look, before I tell you the story, I want you to understand that the Tao can't be perceived. There's nothing you can do to perceive the Tao. It is smaller than an electron, so you can't see it. And yet it contains uncountable galaxies. So everything you're seeing is the Tao in its
Wow.
entirety. And
Huh.
yet it is also the smallest thing possible. So before we move on with the story, I want you to know that reference. And so that's what that first section tells us, right? It's just a reference.
Yeah. So, yeah, I can't. This is crazy because because a lot of things that are going on for me right now are references and place cards that are there simply for me as my journey, and those are just like mile markers almost that I'm going to
Right.
be passing by. You know, it's
That's right.
weird.
That's right. Yeah.
So cool. So cool.
And so we move into this next section
Mhm.
that says, okay, if powerful men and women could remain centered in the Tao, in that thing that we just referenced, right?
Mhm.
All things would be in harmony. Meaning that if you could just remember that you can't perceive the Tao, but everything is contained within it, everything would be in harmony. Well, and that is really saying that, like, when you remember that you are part of everything, right? When Because in it being smaller than an electron, it's within you, and it containing countless universes. Like, you don't do that, right? Like, but
No.
you are part of that. So,
Right.
a powerful man or woman is every single person on the planet. I mean,
Well,
we can
equal.
we
Yeah.
can we can move that to people like Putin, right? So
Yeah.
if Putin could remain centered in the Tao, all things would be in harmony. The world would become a paradise. All people would be at peace, and the law would be written on their hearts. And the thing
Right.
is so many of us get caught up in the manifestation, get caught up in fear. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't know anybody as fearful as Putin right now, right?
Well,
Like, he,
obviously. Yeah.
right? Like, like, he has to be really scared. Like, I mean,
He's not. Then he's not
he
human.
might be a sociopath, right? He might
Well,
be
a
a
little bit.
sociopath.
Yeah.
So of course he doesn't actually have the experience of fear. But, like,
Mm,
if he had come to this moment with a clear mind, he would definitely have fear.
exactly.
And that you know and that's by understanding that the Tao can't be perceived, because, like, what's continuing to happen, possibly. And I don't want to kind of pick on Putin. I mean, I'm sure he's hurting and all this other stuff, but once again, if powerful men and women could remain centered in the Tao, all things would be in harmony.
Yeah. It's like, wow, man. That's deep. This is great stuff.
Thank
It
you.
really is.
Yeah.
I never knew about this until I met you.
No, this is yeah. The Tao
It's amazing.
has really kind of built my life, built so much of all that I do, and so I'm really glad to be able to share it. I've been reading it for, I don't know, more than a decade, definitely.
Yeah. And the
So
huge thing, and I want to clarify this, at least for me, I'll speak on my own behalf. This is nothing like a horoscope at all. This
no.
is completely different.
Mm.
And that's why I appreciate it because I believe in the number synchronicity thing, and I believe in things happening for reasons, and I've developed these, I guess, habits, if you will, and they help me get through my days. And just hearing what you're saying now with the daily doubt, that it solidifies the things I'm doing
Right.
in a
And
positive way, and I understand it.
might even bring up thoughts that help you make that
Better
that help you
decisions.
that help you not, maybe not better decision, but help you step back and not be so emotionally invested.
Yeah, good point.
Because this is about living reasonably, not
Right,
emotionally. So
right.
once you can get a better view of what's going on, you can go, oh yeah, well, then I don't need to be recognized for doing this. I don't need to be pat on the back for doing this. I can just
Yeah,
continue doing it. And that's kind of the thing I like about the Tao, and why I say it's the canon of reason. Because it's so much about, like, getting out of your emotional body and moving into a reasonable space.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
So,
you can be, you can, also, how do I word this so it doesn't sound stupid? you can, you can live reasonably, but at the same time be productive at standing up for what you believe in, but in a reasonable way.
Right. Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
that make
This is
sense?
about, yeah, it's about being
Okay.
fair and generous.
Right.
You
Okay.
know,
Absolutely.
there is a Tao that speaks about, like in arguments, be fair and generous.
Right.
That doesn't mean you're getting walked all over, but you're being fair
Yeah.
and you're being generous to the other person. It's not, you're not trying to take. And that's what our world so much wants to embrace, like that masculinity of like, take
Yeah.
what's yours. But it's like, really being fair and generous has more benefit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Then we move into these three lines that starts with the provisional statement. We have, when you have names and forms, when you have like all sorts of names and forms, whether it's like wife or husband or relationship or child or enemy or boss or whatever. When you have names or forms, know that they are provisional. How many times have we gone out for drinks or gone out for dinner with our boss and they're still our boss?
Right.
They're no longer Gary or whatever, right? Those names and forms that we have are provisional and they have their limit.
Yep.
When you have institutions, know where their functions should end.
Ah. Yep.
I mean, whether that's your job, whether that's a school, whether that's institutions like the economic system, whether that's a country,
Yep. That makes
knowing when to
sense.
stop, you can avoid any danger. Like knowing when to stop resisting,
Yep.
knowing when to stop having that provisional language, knowing when to stop, knowing when to stop the power of an institution,
Hmm.
you can avoid any danger.
That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Damn. I mean, gosh. Every time.
Mhm.
I love these things.
Even knowing when to stop going to court. Like I know you and I talked
Oh
about your
yeah.
wife and you going to
Exactly.
court, knowing when to stop arguing, knowing when, like you at some point threw up your hands and said, "I'm not fighting."
And you know what's funny that you bring that up? She has been very polite and texting me in the last few weeks, trying to reunite my son and I.
That's beautiful.
And I believe that that happened because I stopped feeding the fire.
Yeah.
I backed out and knew when to stop because it could have gotten dangerous. I don't know. I
Of
didn't let
course,
it
of
get
course.
that far.
But yeah, danger
It
can look
doesn't
a
mean
whole
like
bunch of
fighting
different.
and someone's gonna kill.
Right,
It
right,
just
right.
means dangerous. It could have been bad, worse for my son, whatever.
Yeah.
And I finally just said, enough's enough.
You just cut out. Why don't you come back up really quick and then we'll land the plane. Yeah, danger could just be danger as it relates to your son, right? Like it could be dangerous for your son to have the experience of you and his mom fighting.
Yeah, and that's just it. And it's amazing that you mentioned those words today of, stop the resistance because that's what I did.
Yeah.
I felt lighter on my feet. Was I sad? Yeah, of course. It
Yeah.
hurt.
That's loss. Yeah.
Every day I think of them and miss them and but I also remember why I did what I did, and it was for the benefit of him. And when he grows up, I'm praying and I'm guessing and hoping he understands. There's a chance he might not, but I can't assume because that's one
That's
of my
right.
rules.
Yeah.
But it is huge, and I'm thankful that you do these things because it helps me, keep balanced
Yeah.
and understand that things that I'm doing are going the way they should be going at the time they should be going. And thank you for your time, man. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. There is one last
Yeah,
couple lines that I want to
yeah,
make sure that we cover.
yeah.
All things end in the Tao as rivers flow into the sea. And so there are a couple other references of rivers flowing into the sea and being the sea and what that means. And when we can kind of think about it in the abstract, we have to recognize that the sea has to be lower than the river
Yes,
in order for the rivers to flow into it. That's being humble.
yes.
That's putting yourself underneath. When you are fighting and resisting, then you're trying to get one over somebody. You're
Right.
trying to win. You're trying to be in front of. You're trying to get on top of. Knowing when to stop, you can avoid danger. So when you know when to stop, you take that humble stance and you receive. You can receive your ex-wife's like abuse because you're no longer, and so now you can just like receive it. Uh you can be in that space where it's like, okay, I will humble myself in front of you. You know, I remember this was told to me when I was young, and I was so I used to run with gangs and stuff when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And it was really funny one time. Not funny, it was eye opening. One time someone told me, you know what, if somebody jumps you and you don't fight back at all, they stop. I don't know if this is true, but I do know that there were times where I've gotten into altercations where I went limp. Like, whether it's with my words or with my body, depending on the situation,
Right.
going limp, you you wouldn't feel good about yourself if you won a fight that somebody did not fight back in.
Exactly.
You'd feel like a heel.
Yeah.
Like, this person didn't even put his hands up to defend himself. The moment you put your hands up to defend yourself, you're engaging in that fight.
And that's just right. Yep.
You know,
I, yep.
and so as we're talking about this idea of yielding to the fight, when your wife is like barking at you about something and then you say, "Okay, she's not going to get anything out of that." You rob her of her victory
Yeah.
because
Because you're
because
not beating her. Yeah.
right, because you haven't even stepped up to compete.
Yep. That's
And
crazy.
you have allowed yourself to be humbled. But
Yes.
in being humbled, you've stolen from her everything she was expecting to get.
Right.
And that's why the Tao states, like, being behind, you are ahead.
Yeah. That's the truth. I mean, like you had mentioned that that scruff you got into. I remember one of the and this is going back years, over a decade. I I had made a few people mad at one time in the same place, and I was going to be overpowered no matter what. So
Hmm.
I pretty much hit the deck, covered my face, and hoped it would end quick.
Yeah.
And I have this thing where I laugh, like when something's like that's happening to me, I
Yeah.
laugh,
Yeah.
and it ends it quicker. Believe it or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I don't know why, but they just think you're crazy. The only reason I laugh is because I find it funny that a group of people feel it's necessary to beat on one person.
Right.
And that was one of my defense mechanisms growing up with my father. I got to the point where I didn't even feel it anymore. He would be thumping me, and I would laugh at him, and
Right.
that was just I didn't do it on purpose. It just happened.
Yeah. Well,
And
laughing is akin to crying, and laughing is like it's a
yeah,
like it is a way of releasing energy and releasing
yes,
fear and releasing all of those things. And so
yeah,
that's how
yeah.
that all relates back. But
Like people laugh, laugh. It's like they're laughing but crying at the same time. I get it. It's weird,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah,
It's, yeah,
great stuff, man.
if we don't have open energy pathways, things can get muddled and things
Oh
like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, but great stuff, man. I
Thank
love
you
this.
so much for coming up, Frankie.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
thanks for
swap
having
you
me as
out.
always.
Yep, we're gonna bring Lois in. We're gonna chat with Lois. Oh, Frankie, good work, man. Good work. Lois, my love, how are you doing? You're muted? I cannot hear you, my dear. I'm gonna wait a little bit longer. I'm just gonna go ahead and so that was 32 with Frankie. There you are.
Hello?
I got you. I got you.
Okay, I didn't see you. I didn't even hear my name.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
was doing something else. No, I'm sorry.
How
Boy,
you
oh
doing
boy.
today?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
Let me have number 6.
Number 6. You just getting up, girl?
No, I've been up for a while. I did my exercise and everything. I'm right now. I'm laying down. And I just stretched.
Good, good. Got to stretch those muscles. Okay. The Tao is called the Great Mother, empty yet inexhaustible. It gives birth to infinite worlds. You know, this interesting. Like we talked about infinite worlds and countless galaxies today. I'm just taking a note down.
Okay.
Um, okay, it's a really short one. So the Tao is called the Great Mother, empty yet inexhaustible. It gives birth to infinite worlds. It is always present within you. You can use it any way you want. You know, that's interesting. I want to look at this because it's so short. I want to look at another translation of this.
Okay.
The Tao is the Tao is an eternal mystery, and everything starts with it. Everybody has Tao in them. They just have to use it.
Ooh, I like that version
I
better.
like that. I like that quite a
I
bit.
like that version better because
Yeah.
you know that's real.
Yeah.
It's a mystery because you got to question yourself and question everything that's going on, and that's the only reason why that's why it's a mystery because you don't know what the hell is going on. It's like what something I'm supposed to know this. I'm supposed to, you know. I guess here what I'm trying to say is you go through life confused
Yes.
before you know anything. And then you try wait, you become a triadic, and that's what I was still I know that in a word, but a
Mm-hmm.
triadic. You start trying this and trying that and trying this, and then you find out that everything you need is right inside of you. But it was a mystery to you because you thought you had to try what everybody else was telling you they did or what they did. I mean, or what they tried in order to find themselves. So my thing is, it's just telling me to stay in my lane and work with me and use what I have for me, to get me whatever. And once I got me together, then hey, the world is my oyster.
Oh man, that's beautiful. You know, like I look at this and we have three references of Tao, right?
Hmm.
Everybody has Tao in them.
Yeah.
Is the third line, is that second line, let's say, is in that the beginning of that second line, whatever. I don't know how to express it, but everybody has Tao in them.
Hmm.
Everybody has Tao in them. But that is actually that line comes after and yet needs to be held in your mind for this whole piece. So you have doubt in you, I have doubt in me,
Right.
and that first line or the first lines are Tao is an eternal mystery and everything starts with Tao.
Hmm.
So Tao, like you said, Tao is an eternal mystery, constantly just out of our reach to understand, but everything starts with it. Everything starts with Tao. Everything that we do, even we,
Hmm.
started with Tao. And all of the actions we take, all of the relationships we have, all of the food we eat, all of the
Hmm.
everything starts with Tao.
Yeah.
N-
Because see, the Tao is the energy. The
Yeah.
Tao is the energy, man. And it's like, like I said, you consult other people for a long time. Like, well, okay, what is this about? What's that about?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't understand. I don't. I mean, I'm a therapist, so yeah. Everybody always consulted me. What is this, Lois? How do you do? I don't know. But then again, when I realized that I had answers for me,
Mm-hmm.
and that they also had answers for them,
Mm-hmm.
that's why I said I had lead people to their answers, not my answers. My answers are different based upon my Akash, based upon my ancestry, based upon my history here on this earth this time as the personality Lois Ann Hampson. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
And what Lois works for Lois, it may work for you too. However, you have your own brand of it.
That's right. Like your specific answer and why it's your answer is very different as to someone else's specific answer. Even if it looks the same in the manifestation, it is not
Yes.
the same because the reason it arose is different.
There you go. And it's funny that that came up because even in the same family, you have different experience, and even in the same family, you'll see somebody behave one certain way where this effect they behave like this. Yet everybody sees their behavior as something different.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
it's so this is real. I like when you read them backwards.
Yeah, like it's so important because as I've been doing these with you guys, this is the first, like, I've been getting a lot of practice, obviously, in reading these.
Hmm.
um, and and it's really great for me to recognize that, um, how they relate in this cycle of understanding, because even like this one, like we talked about, and even the last one we talked about, those last lines being related to the first ones.
Right.
Everybody has doubt in them, and then, like, so that just that states where is the Tao, and then
Mhm.
what is the Tao. The Tao is an eternal mystery, and everything starts with it. Everybody has doubt in them, they just have to use it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. How often do people come to you looking for answers, and all you want to tell them is, it's in you, use it?
I do tell them that it's in
Yeah.
you. If it was in me, how come I don't know? And I'm
And it's
saying
like,
because you guys said because you want, and this is my answer. I don't know if it's my because you cannot solve the problem with the same energy that created it. That's why you can't see it. That means you
mhm.
got to step up. You got to get step out of you, and look at the scenario from a bird's eye view. And then when you look at it from a bird's eye view, you see the answer.
It's interesting that this comes up, and I want to tell a little story if you have the time. I got there's this concept that I talk a lot about, the difference between being taught something and learning
Mhm.
something. And now
Okay.
this is kind of a paradoxical thing, because when you're taught something, you often really lean on it, and you can't be taught something else. It's almost like if you get taught that, um things are a certain way, whatever
Mm-hmm.
that is. I can't think of anything at the moment. If you get taught, then when especially if you get taught it by someone you respect, then you can often just stand and be like, this is what I was taught, and you defend that which you were taught.
Mm-hmm.
But when you recognize that you've learned something,
Mm-hmm.
you take responsibility for it. And so you immediately are more open for
Mm-hmm.
that to be adjusted.
Yeah, because it's yours. Because it's yours. The other one wasn't yours. Because
Right.
because when you're taught, all you're doing is memorizing something
That's
somebody else
right.
told you. But when you learn, you're actively involved in the process, so you get it. That's why I would tell people, how'd you do this? Because I practiced it and I practiced and I practiced till it became mine. When it
That's right.
became mine, that's at that point I learned it. And I know if I learned something, I can unlearn something. But
That's
if it
right.
was if it was told to me this is the way it is, and then it's locked in, then there is no way for me to even navigate through that
Right.
unless I get to the point of, wait a minute, I decide what is and what isn't. And that's that
Mhm.
old constructs that we talk about. You got to go back and dismantle that crap that you picked up during your formative years where you may have misinterpreted something, where something may be a different way, or where you were programmed to believe things are a certain way. And then you
It's interesting. When we're taught things, we don't know how they were arrived at.
no, because it's programmed.
That's right.
Taught is programming. I'm gonna put it
That's
like
right.
that. That's the best way I can think of
That's
it.
beautiful.
To
Yeah.
being taught is to be programmed. To
And
learn,
and
to learn is a whole nother thing. To learn is to actually get involved with whatever were taught and to see whether it's real.
right. And
You know what
when
I
we're
mean? It's
when we get lost in, and that's why when I have clients and stuff, and they say, "Well, I was taught this." I say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa. They didn't have a curriculum. You
mm-hmm,
learned that."
mm-hmm.
Right? It's always about kind of coming back to the space of learning, because at that point you are more susceptible to changing, or more apt to changing that
But
which you learned.
let's put a paradox on it. Yeah, how did they learn it? They were taught, don't do this, or you gonna get your
They
ass
were
kicked.
told. They were
Or they were
told.
told, okay,
Right.
you gotta do this, you gonna get your ass kicked, and
That's
then
right.
you learn that if I do this with them, I'm gonna get my ass kicked.
That's right. You
You
learn that.
know, and
Yeah,
that's a
and
program, and that's a program. If you learn something, you can relearn or unlearn
right.
or learn something new.
Right.
Okay, but
You made
when
the
you
assumption, and if you, especially if you bring it into your adulthood, which many people do, they say, well, if I do something wrong, I'm going to get my ass beat.
yes,
And that's the thing that they learn.
yes, exactly.
And
Okay,
then, and that's why it's so hard to do this last bit, which is they just have to use it. The
yes.
Tao is the eternal mystery. The mystery is, oh, I have all this information in my head, but none of it's true. Everything starts with the Tao, and the Tao embraces all things. It's not just what you like.
hmm
Everybody has Tao in them. Everybody has
And
Tao.
that's good and bad. It's all again.
Yeah,
I like to say mixed bag of tricks. It's a mixed
that's
bag
right.
of tricks,
And I
and
say it's a
you got
crapshoot.
it, and you got to and you got to be able to integrate that mixed bag.
That's
Because
right.
the thing is, everything in that bag, whether it's good, whether you perceive it to be good or bad, is all for your benefit.
That's
So
right.
my thing is, ask that shit. What are you supposed to benefit me? How are you gonna benefit me? And guess what? That shit talk back to you. It'll
That's
say,
right.
because I'm gonna teach you patience, because I'm gonna teach you humility, because I'm gonna teach you how to treat somebody else or how to treat yourself. This is why this has come to me. But you gotta ask it. But I want to ask you, how's your tooth? How's it going right now? Is it
Oh, fuck off. Like, I'm all right at the moment. It's underneath my root. I have an infection underneath my root, and they're gonna pull it
okay?
on the 18th. And between now and then, I am, I'm hope I got antibiotics, so
Okay.
hopefully tomorrow the pain will start to go away. But right now, I'm using a lot of Advil, acetaminophen, ibuprofen, stuff like that,
Okay.
just to maintain.
If it
I
is
got
an
I got
infection,
apple cider vinegar in front of
let
me.
it
I got
sit in
my
your mouth.
oils. Yeah,
Okay, the whole thing is when it's like that, man. Because like I said, I've had to have I had to have teeth done a lot.
yeah,
And when it's like that, when it's the infection or inflammation, that's when I told you that's when you get pain. What the apple cider vinegar does is it actually it's an antimicrobial,
yeah,
anti-inflammatory, all that stuff, and they let it sit in your mouth if it's hurting for a little while, and it burned other parts. And it was like, oh my god, this don't feel good. Rinse it out, let it sit, but definitely you must always after you eat until you get this thing out of your mouth. You must do that with that apple cider vinegar or whatever else.
yeah.
Because if
I
you
am not
don't,
eating much. I'll
that's
tell you what.
well, or you can do the liquid, but still, whenever you eat or put anything in your mouth that can turn into bacteria and germs and whatnot,
Right,
you just keep your mouth rinsed out. It's kind of like they used to tell you back in the day: every time you eat, brush your teeth. No,
right.
I'm just saying, while you got a toothache, every time you eat, go rinse your mouth out with the apple cider vinegar and stuff. And what it is you'll keep putting it in there little by little by little, and it'll start killing the infection along with the antibiotics. My daughter had to do it because antibiotics did not help her. She was in, oh my gosh, we talking green, not Sharente, my oldest one.
Mm.
She had turned into the Grinch, man. I was like, look,
You know,
I don't call me no more.
when
Okay, and then the whole thing was she would start what I would tell her, and she would feel good, and then when she wouldn't do it, she'd call me and tell me about, oh, did you rinse your mouth? Oh, I left my stuff at home. Did you? I know. Look, if you ain't did it, don't call me.
right, yeah, that's right, that's right.
So when she actually listened, and every time that she smoked her cigarette, because I'm
Yeah,
like
yep, yep.
put something in your mouth, you gotta gargle out because all of it leads that helps that infection burn harder. So when she started actually following rinsing her mouth out after a cigarette, rinsing her mouth out after she drank.
Oh, you just cut out. Yeah, I got my apple cider vinegar in hand, right? Like it is on my desk next to my computer, and I've been rinsing with it. I've been holding it in my mouth, and I can handle gross things in my mouth, so
Yeah.
that's never a problem.
So yeah, just if you keep doing that, like I said, after 2 days, it took her 2 days of consistency.
Yeah.
doing it every time. Then by the time she got to the dentist was like, "You all right?" He's just like, "I don't hurt no more. I'm good." And
All
I'm
right.
like, "You still got to go." So they end up pulling the tooth and putting
Yeah.
a post in, and she still has to go back. And every time now a couple of people have, "Did you tell him this? Did you tell him that? Did you tell?" I'm like, I heard her. I can hear her now. She ain't dead, but I can hear her energy saying, "Tell him this. Did you tell him that? Did you tell him
Yeah.
I didn't that I wasn't consistent and it got worse?" And so I figured, let me ask you how you doing and to
No,
make sure you stay consistent.
it's like like I'm doing everything I can. I'm taking everybody's advice. I gotta stop the oil
And go
because
ahead.
I'm burning my face off here.
Well, what do you? The thing
But
is,
it's not the oil. The oil hasn't helped a whole lot, to be honest, because it's underneath and it's not topical at
that's
all.
not
And
okay.
so, but I am holding the apple cider vinegar in my mouth, and I'm, like, and I don't drink sugary things or anything like that. So it's, we, I think we're getting there, but when it hurts, like last night about 2
Mm.
a.m. I woke up and it was like, fuck all, like
All
there it
right.
is
Oh,
again, but
I
it's all
understand.
right.
Yeah, but I'm glad you're doing better. And at least
I'm
you're
on the
doing
mend.
it, and it's not going. And like I said, because it could right now it could be just blowing up and one blowing up and blowing up and blowing up. So what you're
Yeah.
doing is working. Okay, it is working. It may not be 100%,
No, I
but it
got you.
is. But it is hold. And like I said, this was just to hold you down until they can get that shit out your mouth.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Take it
So
one step at a time.
yeah, but thank
Thank
you,
you
and
so
I
much for
just
your
wanted
help.
to check on you. All right, take it
Absolutely.
easy, and I'll talk to you later. You remind me of my big brother, but I know I'm older than you. But you're reminding me of my big brother for some reason. Because he was a deep thinker like you, and I haven't seen him in years. He's
Mm,
lost out there. So put your in that. Maybe he'll get drawn back in and get clean again. Because he even became a drug and alcohol counselor and everything once he got clean. But I
yeah.
understand that I don't know where we don't know where he is now. So I'm just
Mm,
praying for him. And I to talk to you. I'm like, hopefully, maybe he's talking to somebody. Maybe he's clean again. Because we don't hear from him unless he's in trouble or
no,
unless he needs something.
I know.
So keep him up in your
I will.
greatest.
I'll keep him in my heart, babe.
All right, thank you. I'll talk to you later, Martin.
All right. Bye bye.
Okay, bye bye.
Oh, that hurts. It hurts to hear that. It hurts to hear that. Lois has a brother that's out there right now. Um, and I wanna take a moment and just read one for Lois's brother really quick. Maybe we won't go through it because I don't know nothing about Lois's brother. Um, but yeah, maybe we'll come back to that because we got Sicily coming up. Cicely, how
Good.
you doing, girl?
How you doing, Martin?
It's been a minute. I'm doing all right. I'm nursing a sore tooth, which is like my first toothache of my life. I'm 46, and I'm like,
Ooh,
and this motherfucking shit is hard, but I'm all right.
I know that hurt. Now I do have some old lady southern remedies that might be able to relieve a little bit of pain.
Yeah, I've been getting a lot of really great advice from people like Lois, Energy Lady, number of wonderful people. Bella gave me some stuff to look at. So if you can send me any sort of information on Instagram, if you're on Instagram,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
yeah, you just shoot me some links or what have you, and we can sit down and talk offline.
Oh yeah. You know I'm an apothecary. I work at a CBD shop, so
Oh well, come
we got a
on.
lot of remedies for inflammation.
Yeah, yeah, like it's inflammation. Like I also have a diagnosis of MS, so inflammation is something that's really kind of near and dear to me. Meaning, like my whole diet is non-inflammatory and
Oh
and,
yeah.
and other stuff. So things don't usually get out of control. Like I don't have a lot of inflammation problems, but this motherfucking shit hurts. So whatever.
Oh, I know that. You know. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So it's so good to see you again.
It's good to feel your spirit, man. You bring good energy every day.
Oh, I do what I can. I do what I can. You got a number for me?
I do because I'm having some interpersonal issues that I need to sort out, especially
Well,
with
yeah.
the the work way and how to figure out how to navigate around difficult personalities and stuff. So
Mm,
I feel like the number every time I pick a number, it's directly correlating to whatever I go through, even though I don't know the exact numbering of the tile.
absolutely.
So I say 60.
60. 60. Okay, so this is, and I think we've talked about this before, the idea of governing. Anytime we talk about governing, anytime we talk about countries, anytime we talk about leading, that goes from like your body as a country,
Mm-hmm.
like your relationship as a country. So when we're governing anything, um, when governing a large country is like frying a small fish. You spoil it with too much poking.
Oh, that's a good one.
Center center your country in the Tao and evil will have no power.
Mm.
Not that it isn't there, but you'll be able to step out of its way. Give evil nothing to oppose, and it will disappear by itself.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a
Mm.
really. Why do I always pick the number that relates to what I go through at that time?
Well, that's the thing. Like, do you think you're picking the number?
Ha 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 ha. Good one. Okay. That's a good one. You think you picking the number?
Well, that's the
That's
thing.
fun.
Like you're asking the question as if like I did that. It's like
Right. That's
this whole Tao is about like maybe you're not.
see, I need some divine intervention on days like this.
Mm. Well, I want you to know that divine intervention is the standard for every day,
Absolutely.
every day.
But
So
I'm still a
what are you
youngin.
some? What was that?
I'm still a youngin. I'm only 28. I haven't even hit 30 yet.
Oh,
So
28. Welcome to Saturn's return. Have I mentioned that to you before? Yeah.
oh yes, I have just completed Saturn's return. My
You
birthday
are
is
just
this month.
entering. You are just entering. 29 and a half is your big Saturn's return. So you are entering it.
Oh my
So
god.
this is you are shifting purpose, my dear. Purpose. The
Oh,
whole
28 kicked my ass though, Martin.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like and unless you yield to the messages, it's going to kick your ass in 29 again. So you have to listen. You have to listen. You got to be quiet. You got to be quiet and listen because Saturn is a great teacher, but she's a bitch.
And if it's not built on solid foundation, it's like a tower card moment. Everything falls to destruction. So at 28, everything fell to destruction. I've lost a lot of friends, a lot of family, and I
That's good. I know it hurts, but that like fungus is even though it eats the dead things, it gets rid of those things and puts them back into the earth as nutrients.
true.
Those experiences and those people aren't gone. They are feeding and what will enter into your life.
Oh wow. That's a better way to look at it. See, I need those perspective shifts. That's why I get on wisdom. It doesn't matter whose room I go in or who's talking. I have my favorites. Like you're one of my favorites. I love
Oh,
Lois.
girl.
I love Julie. I come in and if I'm feeling uneasy, I get peace on here. I
Yeah,
get
Julie's.
confirmation that I'm not alone, and they're like, "Oh yes, Saturn return is coming." It's
Hmm.
gonna suck, but we're here. You need to talk. We're here, and I'm like, "Yay! I don't have to go through destruction by myself."
No, no, and that's the thing. You never are, right? You're never alone. Even when Julie's not on wisdom, she's in your heart because you guys are connected through all of this,
Absolutely,
and you
that's
were
my
connected
good
before you
friend.
knew each other.
Yeah.
And it's just hard to see that because we're so caught up with what's in front of us. That's the manifestation. That's the thing that's in front of us.
Hmm.
So let's look at this number 60 a little closer. Let's say governing a large country, once again, doesn't have to be large, could be one relationship, could be your life, could be anything, is like frying a small fish. You spoil it with too much poking. You know, it's you know, I talk to people, like I love to cook. And when you
Mm-hmm.
cook, like people that cook eggs,
Yeah.
they put their egg in and they want to get it off the sticky, they want to unstick it from the pan right away. But it's like
Right.
all you got to do is wait and it'll unstick its damn self.
It will. As soon
But
as it's brown.
you have to stop fucking poking at it. And you
Yep.
like that's why we say over easy. Because it's like you let the bottom cook so it doesn't stick and then you over pull, right? Like
Right.
it's not you're not going to make your yolk hard by cooking that one side until it's motherfucking done.
Right.
So don't poke at it. You just have to let it be. So when governing anything, when governing your life, a lot of times you just got to let it be and wait for the right time.
And that's the hardest thing for me because I'm a bit of a
Hmm.
control freak. I'm a
Yeah.
general manager. I'm one of those people. I always call my boss the blood circulation, but I'm the 808 in the heartbeat.
Mm.
I show up every day and make it work.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I got to stop poking and prodding at the life that I have because it's pretty daggum great from where I'm
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
I'm
And you're
kind
always
of,
like, let me control, let me control, let me control.
yeah, I
And it's
want to
like,
hold.
oh, I can see this coming. And it's like you can see it coming. So you start to deal with a problem before it exists
Mm-hmm.
as if it exists rather than waiting to see if it's going to take care of its damn self.
Right. And what I've noticed in working at this place for a year, the evil weeds itself out. It
Hmm.
eventually they take themselves out. Like I don't have to do anything but consistently be where I am and be present and do the work that I do because I would say things like it's a hip hop based shop. There are a lot of people that are celebrities that come through all the time.
Hmm.
And people see that as clout. I see it as clout chasing. Like they want to meet the celebrities. They want to be in the faces of all the famous people. And I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter how many famous people I know. My goal is the type of piece of having 1,000 followers on Instagram and a private page.
Yeah.
Even though all these celebrities are tagging me in pictures, I mean, at all of these events. But when I leave these events, that's not me.
Yeah.
I get the peace of being myself at home. But a lot of people that come through, they see the money, they see the clout, they see all of the opportunities, and they'll do anything to get it and go by any means necessary. And it makes me feel some type of way because I've gone through it the honest way, put my blood, sweat, and tears in it, and earned a position as a general manager and a podcast director.
Hmm.
Like I put my blood, sweat, and tears. I had never seen a podcast system before 9 months ago.
Right.
And now that I have this, we have 5 shows running under me, and I will do the writing for them. I'm looking at people that are trying to approach and trying to control how they come in and out because I see that they're not here with good intentions.
Right.
But I got to realize I got to release control of that because they will take care of themselves.
That's right. And that's what brings us to the next line, which is center yourself in the Tao, and evil will have no power.
Mm, I needed that.
You know, not that it isn't there, but you'll be able to step out of its way.
That's what I needed. I have to
Like
remember we're protected and divinely. If we're going on a righteous path and we're doing the right thing, evil's gonna exist, but it's not gonna take over.
that's right. Like when you're centered in the Tao, then you don't have to be afraid of the evil, because evil has no power
Mm,
because you are allowing and you're not poking at it too much. When you poke, you get scared. You get scared. Oh, is this gonna stick? Am I gonna break my yolk?
right.
Right? And then you get scared and you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna break the yolk is gonna break. I can't let it stick. Yes, you can let it stick because it's gonna let itself go.
Mm, I needed that.
You just
That
have to have that patience and trust in the Tao. Center yourself in the Tao and evil will have no power. You ain't gonna break your yoke. Not that it's not possible, but you'll be able to unstick it if you just give it the time. You'll be able to step out of the way of the evil.
yeah. See, that's absolutely what I needed. And it's funny you say we don't pick it. You're right, we don't pick it like at all.
Mm-mm.
The Tao just comes to you because I was feeling, you know how you feel uneasy, and
Yeah.
I've learned a new technique. I was watching a therapist do it, but she was like, sit with your palms up in your lap, and it's impossible to stay angry or anxious. And I did it, and I was like, oh, that's an energy release point. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever I feel, I release to the energy. I release the energy to the universe. I release to the Tao, and I gotta let it go. And that's so hard because I'm a Taurus moon and rising.
Oh,
I'm
girl.
very stubborn. I'm very
Yes.
stubborn.
Yes. Yeah. I can feel that. Like there's like if you can keep your palms up, and even if you don't feel it, just try and give yourself a little smile.
Yeah,
You
something to
know,
release.
and boom, everything just kind of like goes, okay, we can be here. It's not like it's easy, but we can be here.
Present. That's
Yep.
that's the word. Presence
That's
and
right.
intention.
Yeah.
And
And
I
then
try to do everything with intent.
yeah. And here's that last line: give evil nothing to oppose, and it will disappear by itself.
Hmm.
You know, it's oftentimes when you try to oppose something, it gets stronger.
Yeah.
The minute you try to say, "Don't do this," I mean, look at drug laws.
True. Because
Every
places that
every
don't have drug laws have a lot less drug usage.
That's right.
Usage.
A lot less drug problems. Maybe not less drug use, but less problems.
Right.
Definitely.
Oh, that's my little one. You
Yeah.
brushing her hair?
So beautiful. See? Oppose no evil. This
Oppose no evil.
and it will disappear by itself. Just like
Hmm.
and that's how all of those problems in your shop and everything just solve themselves.
They
They're
will.
not
It'll all work out.
you don't have to go poking at your fish.
I'm gonna leave the fish alone. I'm gonna let it fry. It's gonna be a
Mhm.
delicious meal.
That's right, girl. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank
And
you.
send so much love to your little one. She's so beautiful.
Thank you. I will. She is rambunctious and been up since 5 a.m. She's an early bird.
Well, that's a good sign.
Yeah, she's a sunshine child.
Yes. Oh, Cicely, thank you so much for joining me. All right. Well, that was 60 that we shared. And yes, oppose like give evil nothing to oppose and it will disappear by itself. All of our problems, like there's that one now that says like stop thinking and end your problems. Very similar to this, right? Give evil nothing to oppose and it will disappear by itself. So beautiful. So I was before Cicely came on, I was going to read this one 66 for Lois's brother who's out there right now, and we're just going to want to give him a little love. The ocean is greater than 100 rivers that flow to it. Oh, the ocean is greater than the 100 rivers that flow to it. Once again, this is for Lois's brother. And all it does is wait to receive what they bring. If you want to teach people, don't talk down to them. If you want to lead them, find out where they want to go. People love leaders who make them feel safe without smothering them. They'll always support a leader like that. And because he doesn't try to compete with anybody, nobody can compete with him. We're going to bring Her Majesty Abby up and we're going to look at that. That was for Lois's brother. who's out there right now. We're giving
Good
some deep
morning.
love. Good morning, Her Majesty. How are you doing?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing delightful.
Excellent, excellent. Wow. I mean, this conversations just touch me so deep. I mean, it makes so much sense. The one that really, really made sense to me was is it Frankie?
Early on,
I think it
Frankie. Yeah.
was earlier. Yeah, man, that was powerful. That was
Mm.
powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you
So
read that again? Like 30, is it 36?
it was 32, but since you said
32.
36, I
Whew.
think you and I need to talk about 36.
Oh, okay. Let's do that.
Okay. All right, this is a really beautiful one. If you want to shrink something, you must first allow it to expand. If you want to get rid
Mm.
of something, you must first allow it to flourish. If you want to take something, you must first allow it to be given. This is called the subtle perception of the way things are. The soft overcomes the hard. The slow overcomes the fast. Let your workings remain a mystery. Just show people the results.
Oh boy.
That's
Oh
36.
boy. Oh God, that's scary. Oh my gosh. That is so scary. Ah, oh my goodness. Wow. That was my number then.
Yes.
Damn. Mm. Wow.
So, what are your first thoughts?
Oh my gosh. My first thought is the last one you said, let your work remain a mystery.
Yes.
Ah, you have no idea how deep that just talked to me.
Mm.
Yes. See, I am somebody that likes to share a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I do. My mother has been telling me, okay, let's not talk about this. Let's get it done first. Let's not talk about this. Let's get it done first.
Beautiful. Your mom is wise.
I know my husband's told me that. My sister tells me that. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm very stubborn when it comes to those things. I'm like, I'm just telling them, who knows, So, yes, I mean, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. And I will take that in good faith.
Okay. Well, we're gonna I think this is the first time we've talked on Tao of the Day.
I
So
think so.
yes, so we're gonna go. Now that we have like it all laid out, we're gonna go through it line by line. We're gonna look at it. And
Yes,
we're gonna see where else we might be able to bring this in. It's helpful for others as well as ourselves. So if
yes.
you want to shrink something, you must first allow it to expand. Like the thing that comes to mind with this is um when I was a teenager, I'd have a pimple and be hard, and it would just be like a lump, but I would try to do something about it, but it would just hurt and hurt and hurt, and then
Mm-hmm.
eventually it would become a head, and it would just go away on its own. It would just pop on its own. And I hear that, or it's just like if you want to get rid of this thing, but sometimes you have to let it run its course,
Mm-hmm.
because if it doesn't run its course, then it is constantly looking for space.
Mm. Wow. 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 In other words, um, you have to let God expand it because we have no potential of expanding things because our thoughts just limits us.
Right. The
So
minute
in a
you want
way,
something to expand, you push it away.
mhm, you push it away. You push it away. So you just have to let it expand on its own.
And once that happens, it's funny. Like I remember that there was a woman that I had in my life who had a crush on me for a while, and it was nice. It was nice, and I recognized that she did, but I didn't have those feelings for her
Hmm.
until she stopped. Until she kind of was like, oh, well, I guess this won't work. like,
Mm-hmm.
because she would dress up, she'd do all these things and whatever, and then as soon as she became herself, I was all
Mm.
over her, right? I was just
There
like,
you
oh my
go.
god, like now it's like she wanted that, but she had to. She was trying, and then all of a sudden she stopped trying, and it happened.
Wow, wow, wow. This reminds me of the conversation I was having with Daryl yesterday.
Hmm.
And he was talking about, I think that was the topic was God is not Amazon.com or something like that. So he was talking about the fact that, there's what do you call it, hemispheres. We have the lower hemisphere and the upper hemisphere. Both are both are God. Okay. Now, what we tend to do as individuals, as humans, is that once we put the request out there, then our thoughts has the greater potential to limit the possibility of what we want.
Right.
So then we keep wanting prematurely, and then anxiety kicks in and it limits us to the lower hemisphere. It becomes a bag that limits us to the lower
Yes.
hemisphere. Now, when we realize and we stay in the middle and just make the wish and let go, gradually we flow to the upper hemisphere and God takes control. So, in other words, what you just read is to let go, to surrender, and then do not let your thought limit you to start squeezing it prematurely. But once you let go, it expands naturally and then it flows.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. And then it continues to say, if you want to get rid of something, you must first allow it to flourish. If you want
Mm,
to take something, you must first allow it to be given.
mm, wow. Makes so much sense. So much sense.
It's so often that, like in the beginning, like when we get sick, even me with my little toothache, I want to get rid of it. And,
Mm-hmm.
but if I were to only try and stop it, it's going to try to overpower me and be more powerful. But I know when I get to sit, like, and meditate and then just kind of feel that pain, the pain really, it, I'm able to allow the pain to be what it is without fighting it. But every time I try to fight it, all I'm doing is focusing on the pain and it is getting stronger. But when I
Mm-hmm.
can sit with it as a
Mm,
partner, then it will relieve me of that pain of itself.
wow. It's almost like fighting, fighting the current. When you're swimming and you try to fight the current, it will overpower you. But if you let go and swim with the wave, before long, you have ways of getting ahead of it.
That's just like we
Mm,
were talking about with Sicily, this idea of, oh shit, I want to just pull it up really quick. This is 36, we're going to 60. Um, Give evil nothing to oppose and it will disappear by itself.
sadly, damn. See, these things are so powerful. I've never really, really paid attention to this before. Like seriously,
Yeah.
it makes so much sense. And as humans, and that is why I mean, I don't know the Bible very much, but then there's a part in the Bible that says we have to be like little kids.
Yes.
Kids just make a request and let go,
Mm-hmm.
knowing and trusting that mom is going to give it.
Right.
So at a point we have to start to do that, make the request. Yours is just to focus in trying to sit and wait and continue to do what you do, and then it goes up, expand, and comes back to you, and you try to resist it, then we have a problem.
Yes. And then
Wow.
this is called the subtle perception of the way things are. And I love that because it's like, well, if things are like that, how is it subtle? But it's like it's about perceiving the way things are. It's the subtle perception of the way things are. It's like you don't you don't actually get to control it because
No.
it has an entity of itself. It has a purpose for itself. You know, people talk about manifesting like things. Well,
Hmm.
you want to manifest a car, you can do that, except the car is wanting to manifest something as well, and you might not be it.
Right.
So
Wow.
it's not about just you being in control, it is about the whole. And so Her Majesty got a phone call as Her Majesty was. Yep, gotcha.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
so as at times, like we have to recognize that, you know, you can move things with your mind, except
Mhm.
the things you want to move with your mind have a mind of their own and they don't want to move,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so it's important to understand that that is subtle and it is actually the way things are. You are not God alone. You are
Mm-mm.
God, but you are not
You're
God
not
alone.
God alone. Man, it reminds me of that song.
I don't know that song.
Wow. 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 Wow.
And
Wow. That.
this leads us into the part that kind of grabbed your heart. The soft overcomes the hard, the slow overcomes the fast. Let your workings remain a mystery. Just show people the results.
That show people the results. That shows, yes, show people the results. That is the part that really, really sticks to me.
Yeah.
And I feel like I needed to hear that. I really do. Wow. Man, keep doing what you do because it speaks volumes and it helps us learn and center us to the Tao. You know,
Yeah.
I see that as it's almost like a little core, something small that we cannot see. However, we are trying to make what do you call it? Like uh, think about it or make it to what we can understand, and kind of limits us.
Right.
That
If
kind
we
of
can
limits us.
remain in the mystery.
If we can remain in the mystery, and you know, I mean, this is going to be very controversial. What I say, I do believe the Bible, but sometimes I feel like it humanizes God, and then it
Hmm.
limits our thoughts.
That's right. You know, the first line of the Tao is the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao.
There you
And
go.
so if you write about God in a book, that's not it.
That's not it. That is
That's
not
like
it.
that's it's close maybe, but that's not
Hmm.
it.
You can't limit it. You can't
Yep,
understand it. You can't perceive it. So you just have to be.
that's right. That's right. If you can explain it, if you can understand it, that's not it.
That's not it. It's all assumptions.
That's right. Thank you so
Wow.
much for
Wow.
coming
I
up, Her
think,
Majesty.
yes. Yes, I thank you. And I look forward to more of these talks. I appreciate that a lot. And you have a beautiful
Absolutely.
day.
You too, dear. All right, we're bringing Empress up. Always such a wonderful speaker. Empress, how are you?
Morning, Martin John. How are you?
I am doing delightful. I'm having a wonderful Dow this morning, and I am looking forward to a day of not doing much because I'm struggling with this tooth right now. Everything is fine, but we are. You know, I am going to take it easy today. I might take a little walk, and we're just gonna be kind to myself.
I hear you. That sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
I have no tooth remedies, okay?
No, I have everybody has given me so much that I can't even keep up anymore.
I hear you. I know that's right. So this is my first time on your Dow
Yes.
platform and so excited to be here. And so
I'm
tell
excited to
me,
add you to the group.
yeah, so what do I do? Do I pick a
Okay.
number and you're
Yeah.
reading this?
Let me give you a little bit of. I know you've probably heard some and whatnot. So
Yes.
Dow. canon of reason. This is all about like living a reasonable life. And I ask you to pick a number between 1 and 81. We
Wow.
will read that and we will get
Mm.
some initial reactions and then go through it line by line.
Oh boy, between 1 and 81. That
Yep,
is, well, I'm going to pick the number 8. That's one of my favorite numbers.
8. All right, off we go. Okay, and I'm going to, yeah, we're going to use the Stephen Mitchell translation. If there is any kind of question, we can always, I always have a couple other translations we can look at as well. So
Okay.
we're going to start here. The supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. It is content with low places that people disdain, thus it is like the Tao. In dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep to the simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy. In family life, be completely present. When you are content to be simply yourself, and don't compare and compete, everybody will respect you.
Oh, that sounds good. That sounds pretty much about, I think, where my vibe is.
Okay.
Um, yeah, being that flow,
Mm-hmm.
being, pliable, just going without resistance. That's one of the things that I try to do is to pay attention to my environment, what's happening. If I see resistance, let me stop. I had that the other day when I was doing some technology stuff that I'm not really good at.
Yeah. Well,
And I was wrestling with it and I said, stop, let it go, come back tomorrow, come back in a couple of days, do it again.
yeah.
Um can you read again? It's just so I just trying to take some notes. You said
Yeah, and I'm gonna and I'm gonna
supreme
and
God
I'm
is like
gonna
water.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna give my interpretation, and then we'll go through it line by line.
Okay.
Um, and then we'll just take it easy. It's not a quiz, so we're
Oh,
just gonna be nice.
okay.
So the last section is really interesting. When you are content to simply be yourself and don't compare or
Mhm.
compete, everybody will respect you. Well, when we bring
Mhm.
this, I always like to bring that last line, especially in the Stephen Mitchell translation, back to the beginning. And just like you said, it says, the supreme good is like water. How do those two relate? That idea that you don't compare or compete and everybody will respect you, and then the supreme good. What is the supreme good? I always look at the supreme good as being like respectable, being caring, being loving, being like not comparing or competing, right? When
Mhm.
you're content to be simply yourself, to be simply yourself, and don't compare or compete with other folks, everybody will respect you. Like
Oh, that's
that,
beautiful.
like that, the supreme good is like water. It is humble, low, which nourishes all things without trying. For me, someone who's coming out of addiction, I got 21 years clean and sober, and I talk a lot
Mhm.
about recovering yourself and what recovery looks like and all of these things. You know, when I think of this, I think of like the only way that you can inspire someone to grow into a sober life, into a life that of recovery, is to show them respect, is to
Yeah.
show them that you respect them.
Right.
And that is such a big deal when you look at this word respect. It's like you
Mhm.
respect other people for who they are. You're not comparing or competing, because
Mhm.
comparing and competing means that there is a possibility of disrespecting.
Mhm.
You compare yourself and you're like, I'm better, or I want to
Right.
get better, or you compete and you're trying to be better. So when you can be in a space of respect, you start nourishing those things around you without even trying to. The supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to.
Mm. I love it.
It is content with the low places that people disdain, thus it is like the Tao. Imagine respecting somebody that nobody in your life respects. You know, this is, I was not somebody who was a supporter of Donald Trump, but I do know that he was a sick man. And I did an episode on my podcast all about how he was trapped in addiction and how our country was led by his addictive tendencies. And it's like, that's giving him a lot. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
respecting him for his ability and for what he was able to
Mm-hmm.
do, but
Mm-hmm.
also recognizing that he was not himself. He was being led under the influence of his own magnanimity, you know,
Mm-hmm.
his own
Mm-hmm.
bigness, his own
Right.
history.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. Wow, that's interesting. That's really interesting. I really like that because respect is one of the things that I have always tried to develop for myself as well as for others because I've done a lot of work in government, in human capital development, a lot of social service organizations across the country. Where people are always going through various challenges in their life. And I've always been in a position of serving through government, helping people, helping to empower people, helping to provide programs for,
Hmm.
growth for youth, for,
Hmm.
mothers, for all kind of stuff. So it's very important to make people feel like they have self-worth and value and that they are important no matter
Yeah.
where they are, in the social scale. And so that has been something that I have been noted, to be when I was working, having compassion, showing caringness and love and kindness to individuals who may be less fortunate, is trying to pull their bootstrings up. And then being on the government side of things, because government employees have always, well, back in my day, they used to have a really bad name.
Oh yeah. I'm in Chicago, girl. I know what you're talking
Oh,
about.
you're not. I'm from Chicago.
Oh,
I
where at, girl?
I know I'm in Texas now. I got married. I lived
Okay.
in North Kenwood.
Okay, I grew up near Lincoln and Belmont back in the
Oh, I
back
know
in the
that
late
area
70s, back
well.
in the late 70s, early 80s, and then I lived all over. I was in Pilsen and Little Village
Yeah,
and
love
Old Irving.
Pilsen. Yeah,
Yes, 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 yes. So
did
yeah,
a lot of work.
that's my home, you know.
That's my home too. I worked for the city of Chicago.
Okay.
And I worked all the way from probably way before your time, but from Belandic all the way up to Daly. And then I went
Okay.
into consulting for the state of Illinois and for the U.S. Department of Human Services. And so, that's what I'm
Blandick was
saying
in
with
the 80s, right?
Belandic. Yeah, yes, he was in the
Yeah.
80s.
He
Yeah,
was before Burn.
he was before Burn. Burn threw him out.
Yep, 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 yep.
Okay.
And then Burn threw herself out.
And then she threw herself out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah.
lived right down the street from President Obama.
Oh, okay, down in Hyde Park, a little
Uh
south.
huh. Yeah, he's technically in North Kenwood. His house
Oh,
is
okay,
technically
okay,
in North
okay.
Kenwood, but Hyde Park and North Kenwood are right next door to each
They're
other.
right next to each other. We like, look, we're old pals. What's up? Like the Obama girls. When I was doing an art project. I was
Uh
doing an
huh.
art project in an indoor soccer arena, and the Obama girls did played soccer there. So
Oh,
so
okay.
so when he was still in the state and everything, he'd come around and whatnot. And so I mean, I didn't have a relationship with him or nothing, but he was around. I was around, at the same time. Yeah, I'm 46, so I've been around since Blandick and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Harold Washington, my favorite mayor.
Oh
Like,
gosh, I worked for Harold.
like,
I worked for every mayor.
oh, did you?
Yes, I
Oh
worked for
man, we gotta
that.
connect, cause
That
like,
was an interesting administration. That's all I can say.
hmm and I'm gonna say, like, I'm gonna tell you, like, one of the things that I don't think that Daley would have done as well. I don't think he would have been as successful as he was if it wasn't for Harold Washington.
Yeah,
Because I think everything that Daley did was built off the back of Harold Washington.
absolutely. He laid the framework. I mean, Harold
That's
laid the
right.
framework. You
Yes,
know, and
Harold.
that's why.
Fuck, like that is organization. That man, like he knew what was up. Like
And he had everybody running to the dictionary.
that's right. Fuck.
But you know, that's and from that is where many cities across the country now have learned community economic development, because Harold was
Hmm.
about neighborhoods. And but
Yes.
Daley was a smart man picking that agenda up and making it his
Yes.
own,
Yes.
and he did
Yes.
a
Yes.
fabulous job.
Absolutely,
He
absolutely. I
did.
would have.
I love me some
You
Daley
know, a
now.
lot of people want to fucking get up on Daly, but I'm like, fuck,
I love
like,
me some
you
Daley.
know, the one thing that like Harold Washington brought up, the fairer than fair, right? Like fairer than
Yeah.
fair. Like that was Harold Washington's thing, and like everything that and Daly came in, and even though he was white, even though he had like all that power with machine politics and everything,
Uh-huh.
like that was the first time like we saw consistent like decades worth of like um infrastructure brought into the south and west side.
Yes.
And
Yes.
like I'm telling you, like it was so important for Harold Washington to come in and fucking build that so
Yeah.
that it can continue. And now like it's always tough because you start looking at culture and other stuff like that, but
Mhm.
when you start bringing condos into the west side, when you start bringing like good housing into the south side, and you start
Right.
rebuilding, and we're rebuilding from the first time since the Democratic National Convention back in the 60s.
Convention. Right.
Yeah, we're like the last 20 years we've been rebuilding these things, and we're actually getting businesses there now, and that's some
Yeah.
fucking shit, right? That's some
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Like,
Well, I worked in planning and development, so I was definitely into commercial development. I was on the commercial development side, bringing a lot of
good
those
on you.
businesses coming in as well.
And
So
that's
I
not to
really
say we're
enjoyed
done.
that.
That's not to say
No,
we're
it's not to
done,
say we're done, but it definitely
but
opened up the doors. You know, when
yes,
when
yes,
economic development and planning merged, it really opened up the doors for opportunities for everyone. So I'm just
yeah,
so glad to know you're a homeboy. Okay, I'm trying to
yeah,
get back.
girl.
I'm trying. I'm trying to get back to Chicago. My son is still there, you know, but I'm trying to get back to Chicago. I love it so much. That's my home. There's no place like Chi-Town.
Yes, no,
There's
there
no
isn't.
place
There
like
was a
Chi-Town.
It was I thought I'd be living here forever, but one day, a couple years ago, I woke up and I was like, I'm not gonna be here forever, and that's all right.
Yeah,
But it's like, all right. Well, where else am I gonna go? And really, like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
I think I'm steering towards Spain because ain't nowhere
yeah.
else in this country better than Chicago. Like,
Nope, it's not. It's not. But going back, because I know we've had our moment and people,
yeah,
somebody might be waiting and all of that. We'll have to connect for sure. But you
yes,
know,
yes,
in the word, what I got, I think the word that I also bring from this is humility.
yes,
That is
absolutely.
so important. Being humble, because.
And
Mhm.
come back up. There's nobody waiting, but if you
Oh,
can, come back up.
okay.
So I want to go through this sextet in the middle. In dwelling, live close to the ground, and that's your
Oh, okay,
humble. In
okay.
thinking, keep to the simple. Once again, humble. In conflict, be fair and generous. Once again, humble. In governing, don't try to control. Once again, humble. Empress, you just dropped out. So yeah, beautiful. In work, do what you enjoy. And in family, and in family life, be completely present. All of these things, like you were saying, just like humility.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes. Yes, that's what I heard, and that's something that I always try to work towards. You know, make it the fiber of my being is being humble. Because being humble will put you in a position of respecting and loving other people. and not seeing through the eyes of judgment or criticism or lack, because they are not at the same place. Or even if you're interacting with someone and someone may be, monetarily uh, uh, s- stronger than you, and you're not at that level, but sometimes people say harmful things to others, and learning how to, as my mother would call, bite your tongue,
Mm-hmm.
and just let it ripple on through, because it's going to pass through. And don't carry that. Don't wear that. Don't make that a part of who you are. Don't let it define you, because that's what they see. Because who they're really talking about is themselves.
That's
And
right.
they see something in me that triggered that. Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's
And
like,
that's okay. That's like
mm-hmm.
that's their
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
And it's our work. If their trigger triggers us, that's our work. That's
Right.
all. It's
Absolutely.
always about who's going to do that work. And everybody should, but not everybody wants to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all right too.
Yeah.
When you are
Wow.
content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everybody will respect you. And that's we were talking about Chicago history and Harold Washington and stuff, and all of this stuff kind of just is all so connected. Because like when we look at all of the fear that was happening in white Chicago back in when Harold Washington was was taking was trying to be mayor and all of that, because he only did like
Years.
like one and a half whatever it's called, you know
Terms.
terms. Thank you. Yeah, he only did
Mm-hmm.
one and a half terms before he passed.
Mm-hmm.
But the humbleness that he took with that position, and that fairer than fair sort of approach, and to really just be himself. Because I remember, like, he was like, no, I don't want to do this, but then he was just like, all right, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it on my terms.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that was so beautiful, right? And
Yeah.
and if we could all learn a little something, if we can all learn a little something from just kind of like, I'm going to do it, but
Right.
if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it on my terms. I'm not gonna
Right.
I'm not gonna run a business on your terms.
Right.
I'm not going to be a healer on your terms. I'm not gonna be in
Mm-hmm.
this relationship on your terms.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be here,
Mm-hmm.
present on my terms,
Mm-hmm.
in family
Mm-hmm.
life. And family life is everything, right? Family life, it could
Absolutely.
be at your church, it could be with your family, it could be with your friends. Like, they're all
Yeah.
family. They're all
In your
different kinds of family.
community. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Be completely present.
Mm-hmm.
Don't 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 assume that other people are there for you. Like, be present with yourself and be there. There was an email that I got not long ago that stated, if you're doing something half-heartedly, you're doing it cold-heartedly.
Mm-hmm.
Be present.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that I'm sitting here now writing my morning inspiration for tomorrow morning, and the theme of it is about being open to existence.
Yeah.
And so, that's being present in that moment, because we only being present means in that place that you're standing, no matter what it looks like, you know,
Yes.
being aware of what is happening and just taking it in, and understanding what is going on in that moment, because we have to think about it before we respond to it,
Hmm.
so that
Yeah.
we don't create disrespect, we don't create harm, we don't create discourse with our neighbor, and really impacting harm within our own self.
That's right. As a harm reductionist, I love that you utilize that term. That's beautiful.
Yeah, so
And
I
and
love this message this morning.
yeah, and we end with that, like, don't compare and compete.
Mm,
Everybody will respect you.
hmm. Yeah,
So beautiful.
yeah, and that
Empress,
says to me,
man.
giving voice to letting people listen, giving people their voice and respecting their voice
That's right.
and their position. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Oh. Such a beautiful Tao to walk around today with, right?
Yeah, I'll be chiming in every morning.
Well, I'll be here.
Listening.
So, Empress, thank you so much. Love you
Thank
so much.
you.
What you
Love
do on
you.
here, I'm so looking forward to continuing to connect. And I'm gonna,
Okay.
you're on Instagram, yeah?
Yes, I am.
All right. What are you on Instagram? Because you don't have a link here. Well,
Oh,
you can
let
find
me.
my link and connect with me. So
Uh-huh.
if you don't want to put that public,
Okay, no, that's not a problem.
oh, okay.
I'm trying to figure out what name. I think I'm up under which name am I under? It's either Empress Q Transportation, or it is up under my name, which is Dion Q Blackwell.
Dion Q Blackwell.
Dionne. Dion Q Blackwell.
Cool. All
Okay,
right. Well,
one of
I'm
the
gonna go
two.
ahead and find you, and then we'll connect, and
Okay,
we'll reminisce about some times in Chicago.
got it. Okay, have a
All
great
right,
one.
love.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Okay. Thank you, Empress. Thank you, Her Majesty. I got the royalty coming to visit me today. That was so beautiful. I mean, Queen hasn't visited me. Queen Bee Divine or the Queen. Like, that's the only royalty that I know that didn't come visit. But that's all right. We'll take what we can get. We got the Empress and we got Her Majesty. So, um, love you guys. Thank you so much for joining me for Tao of the Day. I'm glad that this is such a well received program here on Wisdom. I'm really glad that I am part of your day and that you are with me, because all of those things are so beautiful. Thank you so much for joining me once again. I am Martin John, the recovery mentor. I host the Recover Yourself podcast. I host this weekdays, the Tao of the Day. I will also be around for On Recovery on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Central. And if you benefit from what you are learning here, definitely reach out to me, and I would love to have you at my next workshop or work with me one-on-one. I take a limited number of one-on-one clients every month. Somebody's coming. Wendy Rodriguez. I don't know no Wendy Rodriguez. Who is this?
Well,
Wendy,
you
how are
do
you?
now.
I do now. Look at this. I just met Wendy Rodriguez.
How are you? How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm doing very well. So,
I love the Dow. I was actually introduced to the Dow through Wayne Dyer. Love Wayne Dyer.
yeah, a lot of people love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So well, that's how it got into my hands. So I've look, I've referred to it many times in my life, and I've just been listening. I actually just got back from the park, so I did my walk. Well, I got to listen to all you guys, and
Oh, well, thanks for joining.
yeah, and I just I have to share something that kind of happened with me because all these things have made me think about it, and I haven't shared it with anybody until now except my husband and my mother-in-law. So I've been estranged from my father for 8 years because of stuff, and and it was just it was a mess, and he's narcissistic, and so I've come to realize that he's never going to just say, "Okay, it was all I'll own my part of it. I'm so sorry." I don't think that's going to happen. But I started a text conversation with him back around Christmas, and because some things happened in my life, we had a trauma of our own, my family, and I kind of I had a spiritual awakening, I would say, and so I started making heart amends to everybody, and part of that because he's texted us for years, and I just he kept saying, you don't understand, you haven't heard my side, I know. I mean, he and my mother were married 50 years before they got a divorce, so I know all sides. I grew up there. I grew up in that craziness, and so I said, you know what, you're right. I did this via text because I wanted to, I didn't want to just hear a bunch of words that I had already heard, and I could kind of control it that way. And it first just started out as niceties, and then when it kind of came back around into, well, it was all your mom's fault and all this person's fault, I said, I'm out. So flip that button in my phone. And that's a beautiful thing. It's easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, well, and then yesterday, well, yesterday for us was Ash Wednesday, and I went, and it was a beautiful service, and it was packed out because everybody knows what we need right now. And we need our spirituality, no matter where it comes from, what form. So it was beautiful, and I left, and I'm like, you know what? I got to talk to this man. My husband has always wanted me to do it because he was afraid of that I would have regret if he passes. He's and he has some health issues, but not too many. And I always used to say he'll outlive us all because mean just kind of goes on a little bit. It means pretty strong, but he's not. He has changed, I guess, in 8 years, but some things haven't. So, well, I did. At first, I checked in with my husband, who's out of town, and I said, I'm thinking of doing this. He's like, okay, I think you should too, but manage your expectations. And I said, yep, I will. Then I called his mom, who is, she's removed enough. I can't really do that with my own mom. But she knows everything, and she's a very wise, wise woman. She's like, yes, I think you should do this too. But protect yourself, because I see you've made progress, and I would never want to see you go backwards. And I said, okay. So, because I haven't even visited my hometown in all these years, but my mom needs my help. So I'm going to go back there and help her out with some stuff. And they all still dwell in the same small town. And she manages to have a relationship with him. And so does my sister. But for me personally, he crossed a line that I had to say, no, I'm jumping off here. And so I was having some anticipatory anxiety about, how's this going to go down when we're back in that same little fishbowl, because he does want to speak to me. But is it going to be him just coming and justifying all of his bad behavior, or is it going to be whatever? I didn't know. So I called him just out of the blue, and I was like, how you doing? And he's like, good. And we talked about tools, the things that we had in common, building things. I took a flight lesson because he used to be a pilot. He had a pilot's license, and I said, oh yeah, I took a flight lesson and I loved it. And basically, we just kind of shot the shit, and
Yeah.
and I controlled the narrative. If it started to go in the direction of, well, your mother, I said, mm-mm. And he's like, well, it's been a long time, and I said, yep, it has been a long time. It's been 8 years, and I said, well, I needed some space. And he's like, I get it. And I said, well, and I talked until I was tired and ready to. He's like, I sent you a lot of text messages. I said, I know. I've screenshot a few of those and sent them back to you. And some of them weren't too nice.
Yeah.
And so I said, but I raged for years. I mean, my anger with him was white hot rage because he rages. So he would bring out that in me, and I had to just shut it down. And so I didn't want that anymore. I don't want that in my brain. I was able with a lot of talk therapy to move out of rage because it was very bad for my health. Um, and then because I've always had empathy for him. I've done my life story many times and said, my parents were children when they were married. They were 18 and 20 years old. So we were 3 children growing up together, figuring things out. But again, he crossed the line with me that was unacceptable. And so I was angry. And I was also jumping in trying to fix things because that was what I did as a kid in my home. I would try to fix things. So I tried to fix things for my mom and fix things for my sister when they had bad times. And I just got exhausted because there was nothing left for me or even my own family at times. And it was very bad. So I stepped out of everybody. I just got quiet and just didn't talk to anybody for a long time. Kept in touch with my mom a little bit and my sister a little bit, and now my mom and I talk all the time, but and my sister some, but I talked with him, and we just talked about whatever. And if he was going to go in the direction I didn't want to go in, I said, well, let's hope it works out. Let's think about it in a positive way. And I just did not allow the narrative to go down the rabbit hole that he could have gone down if I allowed it to happen. And again, I think humility is big, because I could meet his rage with rage, and I know what would happen, because even though mine was, how can you treat the people I care about this way? Um, his was justifying his own actions. It was still it wasn't productive for anybody. It wasn't going to do anything. It was
All right,
bad.
I want we're gonna take a step back. I want you to pick a number between 1 and 81.
19.
Throw away holiness and wisdom, and people will be 100 times happier. Throw away morality and justice, and people will do the right thing. Throw away industry and profit, and there won't be any thieves. If these three aren't enough, just stay in the center of the circle and let all things take their course.
Yes. 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 I don't be the fixer. Take care of yourself and let things let things go. Let people figure themselves out. Yeah. Yeah.
Holiness and wisdom, this first line, throw away holiness and wisdom, and people will be 100 times happier. You know, holiness and wisdom both come from like knowing what's right, right? I mean,
Mhm.
there's a holiness to something, and there's a right way of doing things, and wisdom, once again, there's a right way of doing things. And when we can get rid of the right way of doing things, whether it's in an academic or intellectual sense, or if it is in the sense of holiness, we get to be 100 times happier. Like
Yes.
there is no right and wrong, right? When we can get rid of that idea of right and wrong, then well, people do what they do.
Mhm.
Throw throw away morality and justice. Those things, again, morality kind of stands in that holiness, and justice stands in that wisdom area, like the institutions that create both of those things, morality and justice, and people will do the right thing.
Yeah.
When we have so many what's it called, prohibitions, right?
Mm.
We have so many prohibitions. We don't want people to do things. You don't do that thing. If you do that thing, I have a right to be angry. If you do that thing, I will rage.
Right. Right. And it's thinking you know what's best, and that'll get you in trouble,
Yeah.
and a lot of trouble. And people are going to figure out things in their own time. He felt like, since I was the last person to reconnect with him after all these years, because again, he crossed the line with me, which was fine for my own protection, and my kids will have their own relationship with him, and they'll figure that out. They're grown women. But you know he constantly goes back to an incident, which was, even it was an insignificant incident. It wasn't really the one that was the straw that broke it for my mom, and says, well, this is the day I lost my family. I'm like, dude, no, no, no. It was a snowball thing. And so yeah, yeah, you have to let people figure it out, and
Yeah.
they will. And because he's not a monstrous person. This person has been searching for answers his whole life. He's read the Bible back and forth 3 times. He goes to church. He seeks answers. He's very, very smart, and he knows he's lost,
But
so
like in both of those, right? Like throw away holiness and wisdom, and people will be 100 times happier. Your dad is, definitely seeking that out, but that's on him. Like we are
right.
as well. Like you are, like apple don't fall far from the tree. Like that sort of thing, where it's like throw away, and then we move into this throwaway industry and profit, and there won't be any thieves. It's like once we have a prohibition, once we say that something can't be done, once we say like this is the standard, then we have a measuring stick as to how to judge.
Right. And it's all about judgment. Because that's
That's
exactly
right.
what he's doing. And everybody's got their perspectives, and his is he lacks the ability, at least in certain areas, to see things outside of himself, at least if it's going to reflect back to him. but actually in other ways he has great empathy. He used to be a hunter. He and once he got, I mean, but we've always had dogs. I grew up with lots of animals, and once he had this really deep attachment to one particular dog, he's like, no, no way. He's like, I'm never going to shoot an animal again. And he got rid of everything and he put it down. So he has the capacity for empathy. In we all do. We all do.
Right. And I think that's what I was going to say is we all have that. And
Mm-hmm.
we just want to always be in touch with that. Because when these three things aren't enough, right? When throwing away holiness and wisdom, or morality and justice, or industry and profit, when those aren't enough, we just stay in the center of the circle and let all things take their course.
Yeah.
We don't have to put our grubby little hands into everybody's grubby little face, like we can be like, hey, I'm here. And that's the thing, like your dad might be looking for approval by being able to explain himself, and he doesn't have to. You
Right.
can accept him as he is, and that's and let things take their course as they will. You don't have to always guide it. Just like